Simon Cowell's hand was hovering over the X. His patience was gone. It was 10 cause p.m. This was the graveyard shift of the Pasadena auditions. The final block of contestants, scraped from the bottom of the barrel, were being paraded out for a tired, over-caffeinated audience. The air in the auditorium was stale, thick with the smell of floor wax, burnt coffee, and the faint, sugary scent of cotton candy from a machine in the lobby. The energy was dead. The crew was on autopilot. The judges were exhausted. Howie Mandel was scrolling through his phone under the desk. Sophia and Heidi were in a quiet conversation, their microphones muted. And Simon Cowell was bored. He was bored in a way that only a man who has built an empire on the predictable nature of human ambition can be. He had seen it all. He'd seen the singers who cracked on the high note. He'd seen the dancers who tripped. He'd seen the magicians whose magic was just a bad purchase from a novelty shop. He'd just given a savage no to a 5-person boy band whose average age was 55. "It's like my grandfather's trying to be One Direction," he'd said, his voice flat. "It's a no." The audience, desperate for anything, booed him half-heartedly. He didn't care. He just wanted the night to end. He needed one real thing. One moment that wasn't rehearsed, wasn't fake, wasn't this. "All right, folks. One more act before we wrap this session," the stage manager's voice boomed, trying to inject a life into the room that wasn't there. "Give it up. Now for soccer, Steve." Simon let his head fall back against the chair. "Oh, God," he muttered to Heidi. "A clown. Brilliant." The stage doors opened, and a ridiculous, cacophonous circus tune, Entry of the Gladiators, blasted through the speakers. Out shuffled a man drowning in a clown costume. He was Sakar Steve, and he was a walking cliché. He had the rainbow-colored wig. He had the giant, oversized red shoes that squeaked with every step. He had the white face paint, the huge painted-on red smile, and the baggy polka-dotted overalls. He immediately tripped over his own enormous shoes, landing hard on the stage. The audience, desperate to be entertained, let out a loud, cheap laugh. Howie Mandel lit up. "Finally, a professional," he shouted, clapping his hands. Sakar Steve jumped up, honked a red horn on his belt, and did a clumsy somersault, landing on his backside. The audience laughed again. Simon Cowell did not. He just stared, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated disdain. He hated clowns. He hated the fake smile, the manufactured joy, the predictable, tired gags. This wasn't an act. This was a cry for help. "Hello, judges," the clown shouted, his voice artificially high and cheerful. "My name is Sakar Steve." "And what is it you do, Steve?" Howie asked, playing along, a huge grin on his face. I juggle," the clown announced. "Oh, good," Simon said, under his breath, leaning over to Sophia. "He juggles. I was worried he might have an actual talent." "Steve," Simon said, his voice cutting through the room, "can we just get on with this? I'm genuinely frightened." "Okay, boss," the clown said, giving a goofy salute. He reached into his oversized pocket and pulled out 3 simple juggling balls. He threw one up, he caught it. He threw 2 up, he caught them. He threw all 3 up. One landed in his hand. The other 2 bounced off his chest and rolled across the stage. A few audience members laughed, thinking it was part of the Sakar clumsy routine. "Whoopsie," Steve chirped, his voice cracking slightly. He scrambled to pick up the balls. Let's try that again." He took a deep breath. His hands, visible in their white gloves, were shaking. He threw the 3 balls up again. This time he didn't catch a single one. They scattered, rolling toward the orchestra pit. The laughter in the audience died. It was replaced by a low, uncomfortable murmur. This wasn't funny. This wasn't so bad it's good. This was just bad. "This is not going well, Steve," Howie said, his smile fading. It's just a warm-up," the clown said, his fake voice trembling. He ran to the side of the stage and grabbed 3 juggling pins. "For my next trick," he threw 1 pin. It spun, and he completely missed the catch. The pin clattered loudly onto the stage. "Air!" The sound of the X buzzer was deafening. Howie Mandel's hand was on the button. His face was no longer amused. It was pained. It was a mercy buzzing. Steve, I'm sorry, Howie said. It's it's just not good. It's not entertaining. It's really bad. No, wait, the clown pleaded. I have one more. The apples, the grand finale. He ran to his prop table and grabbed 3 red apples. His hands were shaking so violently he could barely hold them. This was the moment, the inciting moment, the moment the train wreck became a tragedy. As Soccer Steve prepared to throw the apples, a second buzzer went off. Err. It was Heidi. I am sorry, she said, wincing. I cannot watch. 2 giant red X's now glowed above the stage. The clown looked up at them. His painted, smiling face was a grotesque mask of panic. He looked at Simon, who was just shaking his head in disappointment. He looked at the audience, who were now openly talking amongst themselves. Please, the clown whispered. He threw the 3 apples into the air. One last desperate attempt. He didn't even come close. They fell to the stage, hit the floor with dull, heavy thuds, and rolled away. One of them rolled right to the edge of the stage and plopped onto the floor in front of the judge's desk. The show was over. The failure was total. Sakar Steve stood there, center stage, under the hot, unforgiving lights. He was breathing heavily. His wig was slightly askew, and then he collapsed. It wasn't a comedic, clown-like fall. He just, sagged. His shoulders dropped. The ridiculous, oversized shoes made him look like a broken toy. He sank to his knees, right in the center of the AGT logo, and put his white-gloved hands over his painted face. His body began to shake. At first, the audience was silent, confused. Then the microphone picked it up, a sound that did not belong in this room, a sound that was not part of any act, a deep, gut-wrenching, masculine sob. It was amplified across the 3,000-seat auditorium, a raw, howling sound of pure, unfiltered despair. This was the emotional shift, the Zygarnik effect. Simon Cowell's hand, which had been moving to his own buzzer, froze. He sat up. He frowned. He tilted his head, listening. The other judges were horrified. "Oh, my God," Sophia whispered, her hand to her chest. "Is he okay?" "Is this part of the act?" Howie asked, genuinely confused. But Simon knew. He had seen thousands of auditions. He was an expert in fake tears, in manufactured sob stories, in emotional manipulation. This was not that. This was real. This was the sound of a man breaking. "Stop," Simon said, his voice quiet but firm. "Stop the music." The faint circus tune, which had been playing softly, vanished. The only sound in the entire vast auditorium was the horrifying amplified sound of the clown weeping. A few people in the audience, not knowing how to react, tittered nervously. Simon's head snapped up. His eyes, suddenly cold as steel, scanned the crowd. "Stop it," he commanded, his voice now booming with authority. "Be quiet." The audience fell silent instantly. Simon stared at the broken man on the stage. He was no longer a judge. He was something else. He was a witness. "Sir," Simon said, his voice softer now. "Steve, whatever your name is, look at me." The clown didn't move. He just kept sobbing, his body curled in on itself. "Sir, it's all right," Simon said, his voice gentle. "The audition's over. You can talk to us." Slowly, agonizingly, the man lifted his head. The sight was horrific. His face was a disaster. The fake, painted-on smile was being destroyed, smeared by rivers of real tears. The white makeup was streaked with black mascara, his eyes red and swollen. He was a portrait of human misery, trapped inside a costume of joy. "What's your name?" Simon asked, as if talking to a child. Mark," the man choked out. "Mark," Simon nodded. "And you're not really a clown, are you, Mark?" Mark shook his head, a violent, desperate motion. No, I'm an accountant." A wave of confused murmurs rippled through the audience. "An accountant? I'm so bad at this," Mark wept, his voice his own now, stripped of the high-pitched clown persona. "I know I'm terrible." "Then why?" Simon asked. He didn't say it with judgment. He said it with genuine, profound curiosity. "Why, Mark? Why would you put yourself through this?" This was the climax, the empathy point. Mark looked down at his gloved hands. He tried to speak, but another sob tore through him. He took a ragged breath. "My daughter," he finally choked out. Simon's entire posture changed. The mask of the critic, the billionaire, the TV star. It didn't just crack, it disintegrated. He was a father, and he knew that word. He knew the weight it carried. He leaned forward, his eyes locked on Mark. All cynicism was gone. My my little girl, Mark continued, the words tumbling out of him now, a dam of grief breaking. Her name is Lily. She's 8 years old. He pointed a shaking gloved finger toward the hills. She's at City of Hope. Right now she has leukemia, AML. The air was sucked out of the room. The silence was absolute. The other judges' faces were pale. "We've been there for 6 months," Mark said, his voice breaking. She's not doing well. The chemo, it's not working." He was openly weeping now, not caring about the makeup, the audience, the cameras. Her favorite thing in the world," he said, trying to smile through the tears, "is the circus. We were supposed to go for her birthday, but she got too sick. Last month," he continued, "a clown came to the ward, a volunteer. His name was Barnaby, and Lily." She smiled. She laughed. The first time, God, the first time in weeks. Simon Cowell's eyes were glistening. He didn't wipe them, he just listened. "She's too weak to go to the circus," Mark said, his voice a raw whisper. "So I promised her, Lily, if you can't go to the circus, I'll bring the circus to you. I told her her daddy was going to be on the biggest stage in the world, on AGT. I told her I was going to be Sakar Steve, just for her." He looked around at the fallen apples, the X lights, the horrified faces. I've been practicing in the garage for weeks. I know I'm awful. I know, but I just wanted the video. I just wanted her to be able to watch this on the little TV in her room. I just wanted her to see her daddy keep his promise." He lowered his head, his shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I failed." The resolution was not like anything the show had ever seen. Simon Cowell was silent for a long, long time. The camera held on his face. He was visibly shattered. He swallowed hard, trying to regain his composure. He looked at Howie. Howie, who was also a father, was completely pale. Without a word, Howie quietly reached over and unpressed his buzzer. The giant X above the stage vanished. Heidi did the same. Simon finally leaned into his microphone. His voice was thick with emotion. Mark, his face a ruin of makeup and grief, slowly looked up. "You're right," Simon said, his voice low and raspy. "You are, without a shadow of a doubt, the worst juggler I have ever seen in my life." A small, pained laugh rippled from Mark. He flinched, expecting the final blow. "But," Simon continued, his voice breaking slightly, he had to stop and clear his throat, "you are quite possibly the greatest father I have ever met." The audience gasped, and then an applause began. It wasn't the thunderous, screaming roar for an acrobat. It was a wave of warmth, of respect, of shared humanity. It grew and grew, a standing ovation for a man on his knees. Simon held up a hand. The applause stopped instantly. He wasn't done. "We're not voting," Simon said, his voice firm. This wasn't an audition. This was a promise." He then did something he had never done. He turned his chair slightly away from the contestant and looked directly at the main cameraman on the jib. "Camera 3, Simon ordered, his voice echoing with command. "I want you to push in a tight shot, right on me. No, closer." The red light on the camera flicked on. The feed was now just Simon's face. He looked directly into the lens. He was no longer speaking to America. He was speaking to one person. "Hello, Lily," he said, his voice now a gentle, direct address, a father speaking to a child. "My name is Simon. I'm here with your dad. And I just wanted to tell you, your dad, Sucker Steve, he just did something amazing. He came out on this stage in front of 3,000 people, and he was the bravest man in this room. He told us all how much he loves you. He told us you're his hero." Simon's own eyes were glistening, but he didn't look away from the camera. "And Lily, your dad, he is the star of our show tonight. He's my golden buzzer." He paused, then said, "Get well soon. We are all sending you all our love." He then looked back at Mark, who was completely undone, weeping tears not of failure, but of gratitude. "You kept your promise, Mark," Simon said. Then Simon stood up. He walked from behind the glowing desk, up the stairs, and onto the stage. He walked past the fallen apples. He stopped in front of the kneeling clown. He didn't hug him. It wasn't his style. He just reached down and put a hand on Mark's colorful, slumped shoulder. "You're a good man," he whispered, just loud enough for the mic to catch. "Go be with your daughter. Go show her the tape." Terry Crews, who had been watching from the wings, his own face streaked with tears, came out and gently helped Mark to his feet. As Mark was led off stage, the standing ovation thundered for a full 2 minutes. The aftermath was immediate. The story, when it aired, was not about a clown. It was about a father. It became a global phenomenon. Donations to the City of Hope's Pediatric Leukemia Ward flooded in from all over the world in Lily's name. We learned later that Simon Cowell had made a private call. The next day, Barnaby, the real circus clown, along with the entire cast of a visiting circus, showed up in the hospital's atrium for a private performance just for Lily and the other children. Lily got to see the video. She saw her father on the world's biggest stage. She saw him keep his promise, and she saw him become Simon Cowell's star. The show is about finding talent, but that night it found something infinitely more rare. It found a heart,